Hi and welcome to Solving Equations lesson number 2. Hope we all got okay with the first lesson. Remember, this should be a revision of this topic, okay? It's one of the important topics that you will go on to use again for higher, okay? So it's important that you've got a good knowledge solving these trig equations. Now remember, when we solve these trig equations, just like your quadratics, we generally get two solutions, and the two solutions come from the fact that sin is positive in your two quadrants, tan is negative in two quadrants. You need to know which two quadrants sin, cos and tan are positive and negative, and this is where, and again depending on which teacher that showed you this, okay, this is where in the last lesson we talked about this here, okay. In my class, this is the way I would normally do it. First, second, third and fourth quadrants. In the first quadrant, it's important these letters are in this order, okay? In the first quadrant, quadrant number 1, between 0 and 90, all of them are positive. And to get the first quadrant answer, that's the answer from the calculator. The second quadrant, it's only S stands for sin, okay? It's only sign that's positive. And to get a second quadrant answer, you do 180, take away the calculator answer. In the third quadrant, the letter T is there, T stands for tan. In the third quadrant, it's only tan that's positive. That's the only positive one in the third quadrant. If tan's the only positive one, therefore sin and cos are negative. So tan is positive in the third. To get a third quadrant answer, you do 180 plus the calculator answer. At 180. And in the fourth quadrant, the fourth letter in the line, fourth quadrant, it's cos that's positive. Cos is the only positive one, meaning sin and tan are both negative. To get a fourth quadrant answer, we do 360, take away the calculator answer. Okay? This is very important to get your two solutions. If you forget this, you're going to omit one solution, okay? These are generally, you're talking about a 3-mark question. Also, depending on which teacher you got, again, you might have done it something like this. Oh, sin, tan and cos. You might have done it something like that, okay? But it's important you remember these letters, first, second, third and fourth in the right order. Right. A couple examples, okay, we'll show you why this is a wee bit different, right? The first example I want to do, it looks exactly the same as we've done in the last lesson number 1, but as we progress through it, you will see there's a wee difference here, okay? So solve 4 sin x plus 2 equals 0 for 0, x is between 0 and 360. This here is what we call the domain, okay? It just means our x values lie between 0 and 360. We're not looking for any x's, negative numbers or anything above 360, okay? So just 0 to 360. Right, so for this trig equation, remember we solve this as we do a normal algebraic equation, okay? If that said 4x plus 2 equals 0, it's just 4 sin x. If it was 4x plus 2, the first thing you'd get rid of is we would get that plus 2 across to the other side. It is plus 2, it moves over, what happens to it? Hope you're saying it correctly. Yes, on the other side we do 0, take away 2. If you went straight ahead and put negative 2, that would be fine. So really what we've got here is 4 sin x equals negative 2. Okay, we need to take it right down to sin x equals. In fact, we need to then go and do x equals, okay? Sin x, the last thing to move is the sign. Sign is stuck to the x. The first thing to go here now is the number 4. What is that 4 doing to the sin x? Well, that says 4 times sin x. They get rid of the number 4 by doing a division by 4 on the right-hand side. That's what we've got, okay? Now, at this point, this is where in the last lesson we would take our calculator, hit the number in, inverse sign. Remember, if you want to get x, you do the inverse sign. Okay, now I'm hoping you're thinking here, oh, this does look a wee bit different. The difference in this one is, this here's a negative number. We did not have that in the last exercise, okay, the last lesson. They were always positives. Sin x, tan x, cos x equals, it was always a positive number. This here is a negative, so we treat it slightly different, okay. I'm hoping you remember what you do. When you do your inverse sine, you don't actually type in negative 2 over 4. You just type in 2 over 4. Okay, some people hit 2 divided by 4 on your calculator is 0.5, that's fine, then do inverse sine then, that's fine. But you do not put the negative in, okay? So, get your calculator. Again, as I said, some people do 2 divided by 4 first, then inverse sine, shift sine, or inverse second function sine. It comes up as sine to the minus 1 on your calculator. Make sure, please, your calculator is in degree mode. It's usually indicated by a little D across the top of the screen. If you do that correctly, it comes up as x equals 30 degrees. Remember, these are in degrees, okay? X is 30. However, remember, we're looking for 2 solutions. This might be one of our solutions, it might not be. What your solutions come from is depending on which quadrants we're looking at, okay? We talked about this at the beginning. Right, where are we looking? This is where we're looking. We've got sin x equals, and that's a negative number. So which 2 quadrants is sin negative? Now, the easiest way to do this is, see the first 2 there? That tells us that in the first 2 quadrants, sin is positive. In the first quadrant, they're all positive, so it's not that one. We're looking for sin to be negative. In the second quadrant, the number s is second. S stands for sin. In the second quadrant, sin is positive as well. That's not one we're looking for. It's actually the third and fourth. In the third quadrant, tan is the only positive one. Therefore, sin is negative. In the fourth quadrant, C stands for cos. Cos is the only positive one. Therefore, sin and tan are both negative. So it's actually the third and fourth we're looking for. This here, x equals 30, that's our calculator answer, which would be our first quadrant answer. That is not an answer we're looking for. But we needed to work it out, because now remember, to find a third quadrant answer, what do we do then? Your wee sum, 180. Plus 30, plus the calculator answer, 210. And in our fourth quadrant, to get x in our fourth quadrant is 360, not 366, 360 minus the calculator answer. And the calculator answer, remember, is always your first quadrant answer. And that's our 2 solutions. Okay, so the difference here was sin x, cos x, tan x, it was a negative number. I'm going to do one more example. The next one is a exam question, straight out of last year's exam paper. And then you're going to try some on your own. Right, okay, so straight out of paper 2 in last year's exam paper, solve it, blah, 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 blah. It just looks the same, okay? So let's make a restart. I'll run through this quite quickly. Right, I'm going to first of all move that plus 2 across, okay? So I'm going to have 5 cos x equals 1, is that plus 2? Take away 2. Really what I've got is 5 cos x equals negative 1. Okay, 1 take away 2 is negative 1. Next, I'm going to divide by 5. There we are. Okay, cos x equals negative a fifth. Cos x equals negative. We do not type in the negative. Ignore the negative. Inverse cos of a fifth. Okay, if I do that on my calculator, cos, inverse cos, it is, didn't actually specify, you'll notice it might not, generally not, it doesn't say anything about rounding, okay, I'm going to stick with 1 decimal place here, I'm going to stick with 78.5, okay, you wouldn't lose a mark if you went for 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places. Please round correctly. It comes up as 78.46. If you put 78.4, you would lose a mark, okay? Because if you want 1 decimal place, it's 78.5. Right, okay, let's just check. 2 quadrants, we're looking for 2 quadrant answers. Is this one that we're looking for? Well, remember that's a first quadrant answer we've got there. Calculator straight out the first quadrant. Where do we find if we're looking for whatever quadrants here? We're looking at this wee line here. Cos x equals, and that's a negative number. It's negative a fifth. Cos is negative. Which 2 quadrants is cos negative? This here tells you where cos is positive. Cos is positive in the first and in the fourth. That's the two regions or the quadrants where cos is positive. We don't want those. We don't want the first and fourth. It's the second and third we're looking for. This 78.5 is our first quadrant answer. We need to use it to find our second and third, because that's the quadrants we're looking at here, because those are the areas where cos is negative, okay? Second quadrant answer, remember what we do, 180, take away the calculator answer. Third quadrant answer, 360, take away the calculator answer, okay? Doing them very quickly, 101.5. Again, I'll keep it to the 1 decimal place. 101.5 degrees, okay? And your other one, 78.5. Oh dear, what am I doing? Don't know what I'm doing. Take your time with the calculator. 78.5. I know we should be able to do this in our head. 281.5 degrees. Okay. I'm going to give you some questions like this. Remember, the main difference is if it comes up as your cos, sin or tan, this line here, if it comes up as a negative, do not type in the negative. The negative is dealt with by choosing the correct two quadrants. Okay? Please message me if you need any help. Best of luck. Bye.